Hello and welcome to Sensitive Changemakers, the podcast where we celebrate the power of sensitivity and introversion in leadership, entrepreneurship and beyond. I'm Kate Carter, your host, a certified professional coach, HSP and introvert who's passionate about helping you embrace your unique gifts and lead with authenticity. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome to Sensitive Changemakers. I hope, as always, this episode finds you well. I am so very excited because I have a feeling that this conversation is going to go quite deep, quite fast, and you know that those are the kind of episodes that I love. So I am very privileged and honoured to welcome Katherine Robinette today, who has spent 3 decades watching smart people turn change into a battle, and she's done being diplomatic about it. I love this. She is a strategist, speaker, and president of Keystone Raven, known for cutting through corporate red tape with clarity, trust, connection, and agency. Her work helps companies believe in what they're building again, and that's when the real transformation begins. Katherine, thank you so much for joining us. I know we're going to have a fantastic conversation. Is there anything else you would like to add to that bio that you feel the audience needs to hear?
Wow. I mean, I always warn people that I have a theater background, and so that may come out. This might get loud or rambunctious. So
Yes, that was what I was hoping for, to be honest.
loud and rambunctious. Okay. Bring it. Here we go.
So I know because we've spoken about this kind of conversation beforehand, which I feel like we went deep last time quite quickly and we had a very detailed conversation about all sorts of things. But the first question I really want to ask is about being highly sensitive, because I know that was something you wrote that caught my
Mhm.
eye straight away. So would you like to just talk to me about when you first realized you were highly sensitive and what that's meant for you?
Well, of course, when I first realized I was highly sensitive, I didn't realize that that was a thing, that that
Hmm.
w was anything different than what I assumed everybody experienced the world the same way that I did because I was a kid, and so I just didn't know any better. But I was always the kid who I could figure out in about 2 heartbeats, who was having a bad day, who was down, who needed a hug or whatever. As an adult, I think of it as being incredibly empathic.
Mm.
I just picked up on the mood of every single kid in the room, and I had to learn how to protect myself from that onslaught of
Hmm.
energy. In fact, I remember being in class once, like kindergarten, like I was 5 or 6,
Mm.
and just getting hit by a wave of, somebody's energy as they
Yeah.
walked by. So that was probably the first time that I was like, nobody else is reacting to this. That's interesting. And then again, I just thought everybody had some of that, was aware of some of that. I didn't realize until I was in high school that, oh no, I actually I see people on 2 levels. I see what they're saying.
Mm.
This is how they're presenting themselves. And I can feel something beneath. I
Mm.
can feel that whatever it is, energy or intent, there's some sort of other piece of information that's coming to me.
Hmm. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people who are highly sensitive are naturally quite intuitive. And
Hmm.
I also feel that we've learned, rightly or wrongly, to hide that or to push that side of us away because, like you said, it wasn't something that people could see or it wasn't what other people were doing. So, oh, that's not right. So maybe I shouldn't be doing that. I don't know if you felt the same.
Oh yeah, I have leaned heavily into my intellectual analytical side. And it is only in like the last 2 years that I've reconnected to that intuitive piece with the help of somebody else who is very intuitive. And they just basically pulled me aside and said, "What is up? You have this weird blockage." Like
Mhm.
she could see it. And then we had several conversations, and I'm like, I don't feel comfortable doing this, and I'm worried about somebody pressing into that, and
Yeah.
I don't want my bubble burst or
Mm.
whatever. And she's like, yeah, yeah, all those things. Yeah, you're an adult now. Like you have control over how you accept other people's energy. That does not mean you have to cut yours off. Go
Ooh.
ahead and put your feelers out there. And then when you touch something cold and icky, don't go any further. Like you're an adult. You can
Yeah.
control this. I'm like, oh, duh. So, so with the same like analytical tools, I have now reopened that part. And honestly, I think that that is why things have started clicking for me in my work because I'm not overthinking it
Yeah.
anymore. I'm leaning into, okay, wait, this is dumb. What feels right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to do this
Yeah.
until something tells me don't do that. But
Mm.
for now, I'm doing this.
I think that's such a lovely thing to be able to experience as well, that freedom with
Mhm.
being able to lean into that more and know that that's okay. I think
Yeah.
I I do
Oh,
wish that
who's
I'd
going to
had
judge me?
that. Yeah.
Who's going to, there's no intuitive police, right?
Yes. I love
Minority
that.
Report's not a thing, right? Nobody's going to come and say, you thought that wrong or you
Mm.
felt that wrong. That's not whatever.
And I love what you said there as well, that you can't feel something wrong. That's going to stay with me, that one. I liked that. Thank you. That's a really
Yeah.
good insight, I think. And I would love to know, you touched on your work there. Could you just break it down? Like, what do you do at the moment, and how have you got to where you are? What's been your journey?
So what I do at the moment, I'm a speaker, consultant, and trainer. I help leaders make work less work. I have always been a leader from the middle. So, not C-suite, but middle manager type
Hmm.
or manager without a title, right? A
Yeah.
leader without a title. And that weird pressure point of having total clarity of what the corporate goals are or company goals are, and total clarity about what it's like to be in the trenches and what that tension is,
Mm.
has put me on this consultant journey. Like I am all about, look, we've got to find a better way to make this work for everybody. So that's my path. And that's what I speak about and I do training. I do training on kind of all of the composite pieces
Okay.
that build that up. So time management may not be like the most important thing in my work, but it is the number one complaint that people have about being at work is that they don't have
Mm.
the time to do whatever it is that they want to do. So I do a lot of training on time management. Communication is like the core of everything. If we aren't being articulate, if we aren't being clear, if we're not reading those signals that people are giving us about understanding and comfort and all of that, then we're not truly communicating. So I do a lot of communication management, presentation training,
Hmm.
public speaking training, just so that people can have their voice
Mm.
be the tool that it is instead of being a liability or
Yeah.
perceived as a liability.
Mm.
My journey started in theater, of
Yay.
all places. Yay! I thought I was going to be a high school English teacher and do all the drama, all the shows and all the things, and work with the choir person, to put on all the musicals and do all the fun stuff. So I spent a year in college doing all the pre-ed courses. And the year I was supposed to go into the ed school, they closed down
Oh,
because a tax measure passed in my state that cut higher ed and regular education funding dramatically. Nobody thought it was going to pass, except the people thought it was going to pass, but nobody who was supposed to know these things thought it was
hmm.
going to pass. And so none of the colleges in the state were accepting each other's pre-ed courses. So I could spend another year taking the courses all over again somewhere else or go find a different career. And I chose to go find a different career. I come from a family of educators. There are lots of teachers in my family. And at that time, my brother was one, and my mother was also teaching. And they pretty much said, you'd be an amazing teacher at like the community college level. High school kids are going to drive you bonkers. Go, go figure something else out. So, yeah, so I went into nonprofit arts management and did that for a decade, a little more than a decade. And while I was there, or when I was ready to leave that world, we had an architect on the board, and he said, well, you've been doing marketing. They just don't call it that. They call it advocacy and a bunch of other stuff, fundraising. Why don't you come see what my marketer does in our firm? And that was the beginning of the end for me. I did marketing for professional services, engineering firms for 20 plus years. And they are still the core of the companies that I work for are in the AEC community because that professional services niche architects, engineers, construction people, attorneys, accountants, they all have kind of the same issues in their companies, this push-pull that I was talking
Mm-hmm.
about. And so they are, yeah, they're the core of my business. That's who I work with.
Yeah, and you said earlier as well about some of the kind of presentations and trainings that you do, and you talked about communication. I just wanted to ask because I'm so curious. Do you find that actually some of the trainings that you have to give are around having difficult conversations? Well, I always think they fall into two kind of categories. Either they pull away from those kind of conversations because they don't want to upset the person, or they do it the other way around and they go it all guns blazing, and then there's like no kind of middle ground. Is that something that you find happens quite a lot? I can see you laughing.
Yeah, I'm over here laughing and wiggling my eyebrows at you. I very intentionally say I do communication training because it covers the gamut. It
Hmm.
goes everything from like basic presentation skills to that, to
Yeah.
communication, difficult conversations, how to read body language, gender differences, generational differences in communication. So like I can do it. Sometimes I get called in to do some conceptual training,
Hmm.
right? Please help us understand how this works. Like how is communication supposed to work? So we talk about filters and perspective and how to read like where is that person on a communication scale and how can I adjust my vocabulary so that I'm getting my message across to them and getting from them what
Hmm.
I need in a way that isn't, as you say, coming in guns blazing or,
Yeah.
confrontational in any way. And also I teach because I was always a mid-level person. I also teach like how to phrase your asks so that you can help the decision maker give you a decision
Mm.
in the way
Mm.
that they function. So you're getting what you need and they can be faster. They can make a decision faster. Um, and yes, difficult conversations is something that I offer. I don't get very many people taking me up on it because they don't want to do it. They
Yeah,
don't, I don't want to
absolutely.
know. I don't want to have training in that because then I'll have to actually do that thing. So I find it's an interesting dichotomy, but
Yeah. And how do you personally feel about having, and the reason I'm thinking about this, my inner dialogue is, I know as a highly sensitive, I definitely tend to veer more towards the people pleasing, don't want to upset people because I know I can feel your energy and I don't want to make it worse for you. And I just wonder if that's affected you, whether that's been something that you've experienced before.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. Before I really started, this is where the analysis part of me actually really helps. Because now I look at it as if I'm in a position of authority and have to have a difficult conversation with an employee or a collaborator, I view it as I'm giving them a gift. I am saying the stuff that needs to be said as a friend. I am telling you as human being to human being, this is not working for us. No shame, no blame. This isn't working. And we have a couple of choices here. We can co-collaborate on a solution. You can decide it's not a problem and go somewhere else, or you can continue on the behavior that is not working, and there will be consequences. And this is what I'm afraid is going to happen, is that
Mm.
you will pick option number three, and this would be the fallout. I've patterned that on Simon Sinek's FBI, feelings, behavior, impact. He said, you have to have all three. You can't just talk about when you do this thing, I feel X. That's not enough. You have to say that and say, and my concern is if this behavior continues, this is going to be the fallout. And the fallout has to be personal. It can't be if you continue to do X, people are going to get mad at you and you're not going to be perceived as a team player. It has to be personal to you,
Mm.
right? So difficult conversation. When you challenged my decision in front of everybody, I felt sabotaged and undermined. And my concern is that if you continue to do that, I will not trust you.
Mm. That's so powerful.
and then you shut up. Now, that is a super difficult conversation.
Mm,
90% of what people think are difficult conversations are really behaviors that they could fix if somebody would tell them this isn't appropriate here.
mm-hmm,
They just don't have that as part of on their radar, and they need somebody to tell them. And so Brene Brown says clear is kind, right?
mm-hmm.
Let's be clear about what the societal norms are of working in the space by telling people, hey, your fly is open,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You've got cabbage in your
because
teeth.
yeah, 90% of difficult conversations are like that you
Mm,
have stuff in your teeth or your fly is open. The really, really hard stuff, we need to let you go, blah, blah, blah. Like you are giving them a gift. If you say to them, hey, we've got layoffs coming and you're going to be on the list, you're going to be on the list, you're going to get your pink slip. Most people leave it at that. And I'm saying, look, take it to the next step. Put yourself in their shoes and say, what would I want my supervisor to say after that?
mm,
I don't want them to say, I'm sorry. I want them to say, and here's what we're going to do to help, right?
yeah.
Or, and here are some resources for you to check it out. I'm giving them to you 5 days in advance, 3 days in advance, so that you have time to process this and to start figuring out what your next move is. And
Yeah.
yet, because we avoid the difficult conversations, we don't give people the tools they need to be able to process that information or process that emotion,
Mm,
right? Remember, while you're still an employee, you have access to a crisis line. You know, remember, you have access to these tools. We
mm,
have a placement center. We have whatever. Like,
mm,
go read your benefit handbook and come into those conversations with actual solutions for these people because part of your job as a manager is to remove the obstacles.
mm.
You should also be able to see the obstacles and prepare for them.
Yeah,
Like, I'm not saying you have to have all the answers. I'm just saying, like, come on, think it through a little. How would you react? And what would you want?
yeah,
Then offer that.
yeah.
Then it's not a difficult conversation anymore. It's only difficult from an emotional perspective. The conversation only as if like that's not a problem. But I say communication wise, that isn't the issue
Yeah.
because now you've thought through, okay, these are the likely responses. Go ahead and have the tissue box there. Be ready for, an emotional response. Give them time to process, even if that means they have to go away for a while and come back. And that's the other thing people forget about communication is that you don't have to finish the conversation at the same time that you've started it. You can always come back.
As I'm listening to you there, I'm like, there really is, and you mentioned it earlier, a really beautiful mix of like the analytical brain and the sensitive, like intuitive side, and how well you've articulated that. I love that you brought Brene Brown in as well, clear as kind, because that's what was in my head. I was like, to me, there's a difference between being kind and being nice, and that real kind of energy
Yeah.
behind this is actual kindness rather than being nice and just
Yeah,
pleasing.
because being nice is surface.
Mm.
Jefferson, I'm gonna mess his last name. Jefferson, shoot. He was a former trial attorney and he's now a communications expert. He's got reels everywhere and he just came out with a book. Yeah, we'll fight it for you.
Yeah.
Really nice Southern guy. And he flat out has said, look, nice is surface. Nice is about keeping up appearances and keeping a reputation. Kind is about clarity
Mm.
and sincerity and making a real connection. I want to be kind to you because I care enough about you to tell you the truth.
Mm.
I'm not here. This is probably going to hurt your feelings. The information I'm going to share is probably going to hurt your feelings, not because of the way that I'm delivering it. And that's the difference,
Mm.
right? Nice is I'm going to withhold information because I care
Yeah.
about this relationship. Kind is I am not going to withhold the information. I'm just going to deliver it in a way that you can hear it.
So powerful. More people should do those trainings.
Yeah, right. Everybody should do this.
Yeah.
I have a friend who's like, everybody should take an acting class for the same reason, because there's all of this stuff
Mm.
percolating in an acting class, and you can learn so much about communicating better if you just take an acting class. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
100% agree. A lot of my training is because of everything that I learned in my theater degree. So,
Yeah. I just love the fact that you wouldn't, or I wouldn't have necessarily put those things together, but as you're talking it through, it makes so
of
much
course.
sense.
Of course, right? What is theater except how do you interact with somebody and make it look real? It's like, well, if we can pretend that, if we can systematize that to do theater, why can't we do that in real life?
Mhm. Yeah, there's something, it's just kind of sparked something in my head. Over here, we were talking about education. They've changed the way they do education over here for new teachers, and it's now called instructional coaching, which isn't coaching, but
No,
it's
it's not.
no,
It's
which is a
instructional
bugbearer.
consulting. I know,
It
or yeah, it's more like consulting, right?
it
I am
is,
going to tell you an answer eventually.
yes. But part of it is this role play side of things, and it got me to thinking actually that's why it works so well, is because the mentor in that situation has to role play something out, and then the new teacher then has to copy that, and then we talk about, yes, this is the good things, these are the things that you need to improve on. And I was like, yeah, actually that all fits together, and isn't it really interesting that by acting something out, you end up communicating something better. Does that make
Yes.
sense?
Yes. Yeah, the brain's a muscle, like
Mm.
any other muscle, and it needs practice. It also doesn't care whether it's real or
Hmm.
imagined. So the people who watch the role play learn almost as much and almost as fast.
Yeah.
Because even though they aren't physically doing it, they aren't physically exercising that muscle, they are in fact getting the electric stimulus, the impulses from watching somebody go through that.
Mm.
So there's you can do it both ways,
Yeah.
right? You can be an introvert, you can be a highly sensitive person and pick up a lot of information by just watching people.
Mm. Yeah, I do like people watching. It's one of my favorite.
My favorite. I love sitting there with somebody who doesn't normally like people watch and say, that couple over there is having an argument. And they're like, why do you notice these things? Now I want to know what they're arguing about.
Absolutely. I love that. Just had a, I knew that's why my dad was sensitive, because he has the same, but that's by the by. I want to kind of talk about, because I know that you're in a bit of a kind of transformation at the moment. So I'm going to let you talk. What is it that's actually changed for you? I know you're super passionate about it, so share with us.
What is it has changed? Nothing's changed. I finally have a vocabulary to talk about it.
Yep.
You know how it is. You get so deep into your own weeds that you can't step away far enough to give somebody the big picture or the whole picture in less than an hour.
Yeah.
Because you're so into it. It's like explaining the Silmarillion to somebody.
Hmm.
And I recently had a breakthrough where I was able to see my own forest and recognize, oh, all of these little discrete tips and frameworks and tools that I've been developing are all just plugs in a dam. And now I can see the dam and talk about what the dam is. I call it the conviction transformation. I have a firm belief, and it's backed by research, that the next evolution of a business model, an organizational model, so coming out of the learning organization and the information organization, the next evolution is going to be a people-focused organization. In part because the workforce is clamoring for it. The next generation of workers, the Gen Z folks, are in a trust deficit.
Hmm.
The whole system has failed them for their majority of their life. We had a global pandemic, everything shut down, the school system broke, the authority system broke, the healthcare system broke, right? So
Hmm.
they are highly, highly hyper aware of, I can't depend on anybody but me. And well, that doesn't get a whole lot done going into a work environment that we are accustomed to collaborating with people or working with people, even if we don't like them, because that's what you have to do to get the stuff done. And they're like, No, I can do it better myself." Especially, in the age of AI, they really probably can do a lot of it
Yeah.
themselves. So if we are trying to attract a workforce, we've got to create a workplace where they want to come and they want to be a part of something. This generation is also highly social justice focused. They're very interested in the environment. They're interested in causes. They're interested in, making the world a better place.
Hmm.
And they know of what they speak. They know what a bad place looks like and feels like, and so they
Yeah.
want a different experience. But I'm not just catering to Gen Z. Like, everybody wants a better experience at work. If we're going to spend that many hours of our lives at work, it would be great if it wasn't miserable
Absolutely.
So that's it. That's the conviction transformation. And for me, conviction is the fuel. It's the driver of what progress is and how you make progress. There are, in my model now, I have it figured out that there are four filters that the sort of executive level, leadership level has to run every decision and every action through, right? You're measuring, it's a mindset filter, it's a method filter, it's a mood filter, and a metrics filter. So mindset, is this logical? Is this rational? Does it match
Hmm.
consistently with stuff that we've decided before? Not to the extent of we don't make changes, because we do, but just does it make sense,
Yeah.
right? Would somebody look at this decision and go, oh yeah, that tracks? Method, is it how we do things? And I mean how in terms of actually the mechanics of getting stuff done,
Yeah.
and how from a moral perspective, because this is not get these things done at whatever cost.
Yeah.
There are some sideboards, and so what are those? From a mood perspective, how does this feel? How does this make our people feel? How does this make our customers feel or our clients or whatever? Like if we're acting out of alignment with everything else, it should feel off.
Hmm. Yeah.
So don't do that. Don't do the things that feel funky. And then metrics, how are we going to measure success? Because currently, we measure success as the endpoint. When we complete this journey, we will have succeeded. And in this new work model, that isn't going to be enough. Not if you want to make the big changes that the world needs or that the organization needs, because you can't maintain passion over the long haul. You can only maintain conviction.
Mm.
So, what are the small wins, right? Or what are the indicators of progress that we can celebrate along the way. And that's the metrics piece. Like, let's shift metrics from the endpoint. Yes, that's a point. And then let's talk about metrics from what are all of the things in the middle that tell us we are making progress and are indicators that we're doing the right thing. What's going to feel different? What's going to look different? And start thinking micro for the macro. It's like, okay, that's great from a conceptual, like organizational standpoint. Then what does it mean for me? Right?
Mm.
Because again, I've always been that middle person. So what does this mean for my team? And what I have figured out, this is where I've started, was with the six dynamics of conviction. So there are six levers that you can push and pull. You need all six for the best bang for your buck. But the beautiful thing about these six dynamics is if one of them is a little wonky or you're still working on it or it's not quite all there, the other five pick up the slack or the other four pick up the slack. If you have at least three going on out of the six, you're probably doing pretty good. And most companies that I think of as being in this conviction transformation right now have two or three going really, really strong. And they're kind of picking up the other three as needed to get certain initiatives going.
Hmm.
So,
So, what would you mind sharing what the six are? Because obviously you've gone
oh yeah.
through because the four are like the lenses, aren't they, to see things through? So, what are the six? I'd be so
Yeah, so the
interested.
six dynamics are clarity, alignment, traction, connection, agency, trust.
Oh, that's a good one. And what does, sorry, I'm just going to pick up on that one because you were saying earlier about kind of Gen Z and there being a bit of a
Yeah,
trust deficit.
trust
So,
deficit. Yeah.
yeah, so what does that look like in a business where this works really well?
So trust is I feel safe. I know I can take action and there won't be repercussions. I trust that the leadership is making good decisions and adapting when they need to adapt, right? So they're not so structured that they
Hmm.
can't flex when circumstances change. So those are the kind of layers of trust that we look
Hmm.
for. I feel safe. I know I can do stuff without getting hammered,
Yeah.
I can say stuff without getting my hand slapped or whatever. I can ask questions.
Hmm.
And then I also trust that the leadership is okay, is doing good things. What that sounds like, the best example I can give is my spouse right now is they're going through an acquisition. They're being acquired. And she was so ticked off that she knew nothing about it. She's in a support services role that would have be massively impacted by an acquisition. And so she sort of felt like I kind of should have known like
Hmm.
something was coming. And I said, yeah, well, that's because your company doesn't value trust. Because companies that value trust find ways to tell you what's going on, even when they legally can't expose, hey, we're getting acquired,
Yeah.
right? Because you can't just tell everybody that. Companies that don't value trust withhold information as a part of their leadership model.
Mm.
And they don't think anything of it. They're just like, nah, it's above your pay grade. You're done. You don't get to know.
Mm.
But when you value trust, you say things like, I'm going to need you to be super focused on XYZ for the next 6 months. There's something in the works. And
Mm.
that's all you need to say. You have not betrayed any confidences. You have not said anything that you legally can't say. And it took, what did it take me? 2 seconds to say
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. And do you feel
Like,
that that is linked in with what we were talking about earlier as well, about the importance of communication, the importance of that clarity and kindness? Because it feels like there's a commonality there as well with those two things.
yeah, I mean, communication is a huge bucket for like so much stuff.
Mm.
That's why clarity is the number one. Like, I never forget which what
Yeah.
dynamic it is because clarity is about it's more than understanding, though that's a big part of it. It's also context, right? I can't trust what's going on if you don't give me the subtext. So
Mm.
clarity is always first. Clarity, I call it clarity is the compass, right? It's the information that we need in order to know where the needle is.
Yeah.
Where are we all pointed? And that varies depending on the situation. How much information you can give varies depending
Mm.
on the situation because
Mm.
I'm not an advocate of like total transparency. I get that there's stuff, my father was an attorney. There's stuff that you just can't talk about
Hmm.
with the general staff. It's not their, it's not that they wouldn't be interested, it's that it might freak them out and you
Yeah.
need them functioning and doing whatever they need to do. But you can tell them something. There's always something that you can say. And that's the part that I think leaders forget. They're just like, well, I can't talk about that. It's like, yes, you can. You can talk about something about
Mm.
that. Even that just acknowledging that there's a that
Hmm.
for most people would be enough.
Mm. Yeah. And you're talking earlier about kind of how it's going to shift into being people focused. That makes so much sense, doesn't it? When you put all of that together, how that would support people coming into that kind of environment to feel like not only were they, it's that idea that's coming to my head in anyway of like adding value and being valued. It's
Yes.
like that type of kind of energy behind it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I tell people, look, this is a model for a people-focused, personally and professionally fulfilling and adaptive company. If that sounds like the kind of company that you want, let's talk because
Mm.
it's not too late. You can do this. Any leadership can decide, yeah, this is the direction that we want to go. And what I love about it is intentionally, it is designed to adapt to changing circumstances. And so many of the leadership and business models that are out there are not. They
Mm.
are first do this, then do that, 100% linear, 10 steps, 12 steps, 30 steps,
Hmm.
whatever. And when you're done, you're done. Now you have the perfect company.
Yeah,
And what I'm
well
saying
done.
is, yeah. And what I'm saying is that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
People are people. The markets shift, stuff happens. You could, hey, there could be a pandemic and the world
Yeah.
could shut down.
Yeah.
So, given all of the stuff that you don't have control over, this gives you comfortable uncertainty. It means
Mm.
that you are ready. You know, okay, when something happens that we have weren't prepared for or had no idea was going to happen, the first call is this, whatever that is for the
Hmm.
company. The first call is we're going to get the leadership team together
Yeah.
and go, the what? The second call is what are we going to tell our people?
Yeah.
Because the framework works best when stuff is in chaos, right? When stuff is not in chaos, you don't need a framework. You don't need you don't need a plan. And that's so many of the pieces that we're missing are what do we do when things go awry? Because things always go awry. And that's why I started with all the framework
Mm.
stuff. How do you fix it? And it took me 18 months to get to, well, more, almost 5 years to get to what is the model?
Yeah.
What am I designing towards? Oh, this. And it was like a bolt of lightning, like, oh, finally everything made sense. It's like, yeah, I'm consistently in my fixing it models, I'm consistently using these filters.
Hmm.
I'm consistently drawing on these, harping on these six dynamics. So clearly that's a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we spoke about this last time, and it's coming up for me again. I just wonder your take on it. Jim Collins' book, From Good to Great, isn't it? And he talks
Yep.
about making sure you got the right people on the bus and that you know the direction it's going in. What's your kind of take on that with kind of looking at it through your lens of your framework?
Yeah, boy, that's so interesting. I was just talking with someone yesterday about, well, who needs to be at the table when you start having these conversations about change and da da da.
Mm,
And I said, well, you need there's seven voices. There, four of them are like authority driven, role driven, and three of them are future looking. I haven't quite figured out what box to put those in. Having the right people means playing to their strengths. What are they good at? And how do I make use of that in the best possible way, best possible moment? If you've taken the Clifton Strengths, Strength Finder stuff,
yeah.
maximizers and individualization both play into this being able to identify what people's strengths are. And then maximizers go from mediocre to amazing, right? They
Hmm.
take, this is good, let's make it amazing. They're the ones who go, oh, this is what everybody's capable of. Boink, 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 and plug them into wherever they would be amazing for the
Hmm.
company. Well, there aren't a lot of maximizers at the leadership level, and there aren't a lot of individualization in their top five at the leadership level because those are so nuanced and detailed, and they're not, they're big picture from the perspective of being able to achieve a goal, but they're not big picture from a implementation perspective. But yeah, being able to look at your team, leadership team or your day-to-day working team and say, what are you really good at? What really lights you up when you work
Hmm.
on it? Why do we have you doing data entry when you're a vision person? Why? That seems odd. Does that fill you up to do data entry? And some days it might because they need a break from visioning, but maybe not as the primary function of their job. Org restructure stuff. I mean, I love having those conversations because I look at, okay, what's the work that really needs to get done? Okay, let's put those into buckets. And then let's design what the team needs to be, regardless of who you actually still have in those seats because people will self-select or self-deselect when you can articulate to them, this is what this job requires.
Hmm.
And I don't mean like degrees and, the typical mumbo jumbo you get on a job description. I mean like expectations of the position and what are the primary functions of that job, primary responsibilities of that job. What are you going to really be working on more than 50% of the time? And then what are the secondary things that are important, but they may only happen once a year? Like you have to do budgeting. That's an
Yeah.
important aspect of your job, but it only comes around once or twice a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you can't do it, you can't have this position because nobody's going to help you. You have to be able to do the budgeting. Okay. Those kinds of conversations way more clarity about, oh, I get it now. I now understand why I'm not ready to be promoted into that position because I don't
Hmm.
have any budgeting experience. I'll
Mm.
go volunteer for this organization and be the treasurer so I can get some experience with that or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Like you can make your plan when you know what's really coming. Well, the same is true for an organization from a goal perspective. It's
Mm.
like it does not help to tell someone your sales goal is X as your goal, as your strategic goal for the year. I need to know how that sales goal fits in the direction that we're going. Because are we trying to get more money into the company just to get more money in the company? Or are we trying to get more money in the company because there's something we're trying to do? I have a different feeling about that. And I'll approach it differently. My technique for increasing my sales will be different if I know why we're trying to increase sales.
Like that context piece.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
context piece.
Absolutely. And I think it was really interesting as well as you were talking about finding out people's strengths. And I think that in itself is a shift in how businesses are structured. I
Yeah.
was listening to, and I know I'm going to mess this up, but I was listening to a podcast between Adam Grant, who I love, and Brené Brown. You've probably heard of that as well. And they were talking about, and I can't remember the actual terminology they were using, but they were basically saying that people like introverts and quieter people were being overlooked for promotions, not because they couldn't do it, but because they just didn't have the right vibe or they didn't have the right persona. And so, what I love about what you're saying here is that it enables people that are quieter, maybe a deep processor, but actually still very gifted in certain areas. This kind of
Mhm.
framework that you're talking about is really going to help them to come forward a little bit more and take up that space.
Yeah, I tell people my goal is to get to a place where people feel like they can show up, speak up, and step up.
Completely
Well,
disrupting the kind of status quo.
yeah, yeah. But also want to step up. Like, I
Mm,
want to take responsibility. I want to be involved in that because the environment makes participation hard to resist, right? Not hard to do, hard to resist. It's so compelling. It's so magnetic, right? Getting back to the clarity compass piece. It's so magnetic. It's so sticky. I want a piece of it. I want to be in it.
yeah,
Yum. Sign
yeah.
me up.
I love that. Now I'm picturing cake.
Yeah, right. Oh, that's funny. I was picturing a big bowl of hot chocolate.
Either's fine with me.
Either works. Yeah. Something sweet though, definitely
Yes,
something sweet.
definitely.
I think it's
And
because I said sticky. That was
yeah, I would love to know, because I know you predominantly work with businesses, is that going to shift as you do this? Are you going to be kind of opening your doors up to kind of more startup businesses, people that are just finding their feet? Or like, I'm really interested to
Yeah.
know the direction or whether you've thought about it like that yet.
Yeah, I do because people are like, "Don't you work with small businesses?" I'm like, "I really don't," because you've got to have some systems in
Mm.
place. You have to be big enough to have some systems and processes in place because otherwise there's no vehicle by which to roll this stuff out or to see it manifest. There aren't enough touch points for you to have any metrics because if you're only five people, all of your decisions are the five of you get together and make your decision. Like
Yeah, that's it.
that's
Job's
your
done.
whole decision process, right? And like, nah, you need, I tell people I need about 20 folks because now you have some layers of and some hierarchy. And I like going up to about 5,000 is probably my top. But I mean, that's just the experience that I've had. That
Mm.
doesn't mean it wouldn't work for larger organizations. It 100% would. It also works for discrete groups within those organizations. And that tends to be my sweet spot because I love working with like a regional team or a department and they get this engine going. Everybody else looks at them and goes, "What are they doing? They're having so much productivity and all the standard metrics are like shooting through the roof." It's like, yeah, because they're treating their people like the asset that they truly are.
Yeah,
And now they're knocking it out of the park. I mean,
yeah,
I downplay that, but I'm like, to me, it makes total sense. It's like if
yeah.
you treat people like they're amazing, they're going to do amazing stuff.
Hmm.
They're going to do amazing stuff. And we prove this over and over and over again in our military and in our in our sports. Like if you treat your people really well, like and tell them you are capable, you can
Hmm.
do this, then they are capable and they can do it. We can do hard things.
Absolutely. I love that we could do hard things. Yeah, and it works in education as well. I mean, I know I keep bringing
Hmm.
it because that's my background, but that is it. If you hold anybody to not a higher standard, but like, I believe in you, you can do this, let's bring it up here. They believe in themselves more and go, oh, maybe I can. And that just
Yeah.
changes the whole system, the whole kind of process. Yeah.
Simon
So
Sinek talks
important.
about, look, if you can tell people exactly what you're doing and why, you will start attracting the people who want to do that and
Hmm.
have the resources or the capabilities to make that happen.
Yeah,
It's like, okay,
that
great.
makes
Again,
sense.
Clear is kind.
Yeah,
Clear is kind.
I think that's one of the things I'm going to take away. I love that. Clear is kind. So, how can people find you? Where do you hang out?
I'm on LinkedIn. That's my favorite spot. That's where a lot of the change management
Mhm.
thought leaders are. So I'm Katherine-Robinette-speaker on LinkedIn, and you can find me on my website, keystoneandraven.com.
Perfect. And I will make sure that they both go in the show notes. So thank you so, so much. As always, I knew this was going to be a really kind of deep conversation. I think it's a really, really important one because it brings all the pieces together that I love, which is being highly sensitive, being a quiet kind of achiever almost, and knowing that it doesn't mean that you're not powerful is the word that's come into mind. I don't mind quite mean it like that, but that just because you're quieter, just because you're sensitive, doesn't mean you haven't got something to add, that you haven't got value to bring. And I think sometimes that's the message that can get brought up in these bigger businesses. And so I love the fact that you're kind of bringing your framework in to support businesses in lots of different ways. But that's going to be one of the almost like benefits of it that people are
Oh
going to be
yeah.
able to.
Like it's not even a thing in my mind
Mm,
that sensitives or extroverts or introverts, like that's not even a denominator in my in my concept, because I'm just looking at people as the infinite variable.
mhm.
How do you make this place work for people? Period.
And I know that so it makes so much sense, but I don't necessarily think that's been the way that we've been doing things. So yeah,
No, because
I love
money's
having
been the
that.
common
Yeah,
denominator, not people. It's like,
yeah.
well, I got news for you. The science says if you treat the people right, the money follows.
Hmm. And there's the research, and again, I'm going to mess this, but I know that the research out there is talking about people who've got agency. I think this comes from Jim Collins's book, actually. The
Hmm.
people who have agency, who people who feel that they can say that what they want to say are the ones that actually stick around the longest and put in the work
That's
and
correct.
bring in the clients and the money, etc. So yes, yes to it all. Thank you so, so much for this wonderful conversation. It's been lovely, lovely to have you on. I'll be back with another episode, guys, and take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. If you have any takeaways or any questions, please do reach out to me either through Instagram, LinkedIn, or Facebook at Kate Carter Coaching, or you can email me at kate@katecarter.co.uk. I always love to hear your feedback and the things that you have taken from the podcast. If you know of any other highly sensitive people, then please do share this so that I can reach more and support more highly sensitive people to embrace their strengths and gifts. As a thank you, I will pick a winner every month for a free 50-minute coaching session with me. Thank you so, so much.